Hey guys, thanks for joining me for another Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia video, and today we're going to do a should you pull for Onion Knight BTFR and then for Iroha BTFR. So in this video I'm going to talk about both of their banners. We've actually got 6 characters to talk about, so each banner is going to have 3 characters. I'm just going to give you a quick overview of kind of what each character does for those of you that aren't familiar, and then at the end I'll kind of talk about my overall thoughts as to if you should summon for these characters or not, and it may always depend on your situation, what kind of resources you have, things like that, right? So let's start with the Onion Knight banner here. So on this banner, we're going to have Onion Knight FRBT, we're going to have Pain, and we are going to have Aphmau. So we'll start with kind of the lesser characters first. Aphmau is there pretty much as Aphmau is pretty much a full turn manipulation character, and a character that has a lot of longevity because she uses a lot of HP plus attacks or transformed HP attacks. Aphmau, for me personally, has been a very niche character that, like, I only want to use her in specific turn manipulation type teams. There was a long time where she was, like, one of the most busted characters in the game because you paired her with Sid Reigns, who was, like, the top tier DPS, and you could just loop her and Sid Reigns for days and days and days, right? So if you like team comps where, like, you don't give the bosses turns, and you like turn manipulators, Aphmau could be a decent, like, side pickup for you. But definitely don't like summon just for Aphmau here, right? Aphmau also does not deal a lot of damage. Aphmau's basically quote-unquote damage comes through enabling a lot of turns for other characters to do damage. So I would say Aphmau doesn't synergize as well like during a force time, unless you're just using her to try to like give another character more turns, but she's inevitably could eat up a turn during that force time that you might not get a lot of damage, right? So, like I said, Aphmau, if you like pure turn manipulation, that's really what she's all about. Then we have Pain. Pain is a pretty cool character. Like, when I hear people talk about Pain, like, it's usually positive. Like, I don't hear a lot of people are like, oh, I hate Pain. Like, Pain is actually one of the cooler characters in the game. She's the first character that introduced, basically, party placement as, like, a part of her kit, right? So, where she is in the party is going to greatly affect how she acts in your party, right? So, Pain can either be like a ridiculous debuffer or a ridiculous buffer, or you can have her kind of in between, right? So if you have her in the middle of your party, she does buff and debuff, but her passives are kind of like weakened, right? So the way you usually want to play Pain is you usually want to play her all out as like a buffer or all out as a debuffer, right? And so like if you put her in one slot, I don't remember which is which, but I think the top slot, that might be the debuff slot, and I think the bottom slot is the buff slot, if I remember right. But you would have to try it out and see. I have a character guide on her. Go check that out if you want to see how Pain works. But she's kind of cool if you want like a flexible debuffer slash buffing character. And the thing is with Pain is if you commit to full buff or full debuff stance, her potencies are very good. Like almost top tier at this point, right? Even after she's been out a while. When she first dropped, she was like top tier, like best in line for those types of buffs and debuffs. She's fallen off a little bit, but I would say she's still competitive, like still good, right? Once again, not that you should go in and summon just for Pain, and I would never recommend going in just for the side characters, right? Unless it's something busted like Selfie, that would be like a very rare case. But these are good characters, right? Like Pain and Aphmau, they're fun characters if you use them correctly and you like the way they work. Now, Onion Knight, if you're summoning on this side, is what you're really gunning for here. And Onion Knight, he does get a really nice rework here. Onion Knight is basically known as being a stance-based character where he has a physical stance and like a magic stance, right? And so the idea is one stance is like magical ice attacks, the other side is like his ninjutsu stance, which is more physical, offensive-based that way, right? That isn't really as relevant anymore. Back when Onion Knight first dropped, like, they had bosses that were very specific, like, I'm going to resist physical, I'm going to resist magic, and then, like, it was harder to get around that because, like, imperiling didn't necessarily stop that back in the day. Today, like, the physical versus magic, that doesn't really matter to me at all. But now it's about, like, how does his FR operate, and what is his FR going to do for you? That is he going to be a character you want to get, right? The other thing with Onion Knight, I would say Onion Knight's best quality is he does have turn manipulation. So he can help bring your party members up with his LD, can help you stay in front of the boss turn. So that part I think is really nice. And his FR kind of caters to that. So one thing I will say for Onion Knight, he's not like the craziest damage dealer in the world, but his rework does make his damage much better, right? And once again, you fully invest in any of these characters, they're going to put up some decent numbers, right? So his FR is you get 40% if an ally acted before you. So pretty much as long as you don't let the boss take turns, you're getting 40% for free, which is pretty easy, right? So once again, this is going to cater to a play style where if you like using speedy characters and you like staying in front of the bosses and like no turning bosses, like Onion Knight might be an FR for you, right? And that's why they feature Athmau here, because Athmau can really help keep your party in front of the enemy so that you can stay with Onion Knight's FR and get that 40%. And then it's very simple, and then it's just ice damage, right? So 20% for an ally doing ice damage, and 30% for Onion Knight doing ice damage. So it's a pretty standard FR where you're getting 70 or 60% per attack, right? Now, the one really nice upgrade Onion Knight got is he now does enchant for ice for the party, which he previously didn't do. So that is a really nice buff, right? So if you want someone who maybe isn't the craziest damage dealer, but you like the idea of turn manipulation, it's a fairly flexible, easy to use FR, Onion Knight's very decent. I don't know that I'd always run out with him as like my primary damage dealer. Not that he can't work as a primary damage dealer, but he definitely can work. It just depends on how long of a fight you want to have and how much you like the character, right? Now, with Onion Knight's BT, I definitely don't think you all need to chase the BT. The BT isn't anything crazy. I would actually say that the BT was actually kind of bad. Now, it did get some upgrades to get a little bit of help, but to simplify what the BT is, it's just generic buffs to the party pretty much. But he has two different BT buffs based on which stance he's in, right? Because he's got like a magic stance and a physical stance. So it's just the physical stance makes one of the buffs buff melee attack, and the other one buffs magic attack specifically. But then there's also generic party-wide buffs like HP damage up, Brave gains up, just normal stuff like that the party would get from a BT, right? So it's not like a crazy amazing BT effect that you have to go out of your way to get. So if you want to use Onion Knight and you like the idea of the FR, you could try him like without the BT, just the FR. I think Onion Knight is definitely usable LD only, especially if you're using him as like a slot 3 utility character for his turn manipulation, the ice enchant. And if he's not your primary damage dealer, you can definitely get away with the LD only Onion Knight, right? So I'll definitely be re-showcasing him. I'll do a new character guide on him. Mine most likely will be LD only because I don't think I'm going to go in for his FR or his BT. If I can find a friend one, maybe I'll showcase a little bit with the friend one, but you guys will get the general idea. So that's what's on the Onion Knight side. Let's look at the other banner here. So the other banner here is going to feature Iroha, BTFR, and then we're going to have Rosa, and we're going to have Cater. So we'll start with the side characters. You can tell by my Cater, I'm going to be a little biased here. My Cater's I got an Ultima weapon gun on her and blue armor. So needless to say, I like Cater. I've always said that I think Cater is a bit underrated in the game. And now, with some of the newer characters, she actually operates really well with like Rydia's FR, and she's going to operate well now with Onion Knight's FR being an ice damage character. So Cater's just getting more parties to look good in. The reason why Cater, I think, works well with Rydia is she is a dodge counter tank. So she has her own built-in dodge, so if you don't have Rydia's LD buff, and Cater can just give herself that dodge. She's actually a pretty good support character as well, and she does ice damage. She has ice traps that she can trigger, and she has the dodge counter, and she can give herself 100% dodge. She's just a really fun character. Like, in a single attack, like, her damage isn't overwhelming. It's not, like, crazy. But if you tally up the fact that her defensiveness with her dodging, her counters, her trap that she gets, she actually ends up doing some pretty cool things. So I personally am a Cater fan. Now, that being said, I still don't recommend you go in here and jump in and just because I love Cater, I don't want you guys all to jump in here with tickets and be like, oh, Joe loves Cater, I got to get her. No, that's not the case. Definitely don't do that. Really, when you're going to be thinking about if you should pull on these banners, you're really thinking about Iroha or Onion Knight. And then if you get the side characters, they're going to be like a bonus, right? Then we have Rosa. Rosa's been a pretty shafted character. She was really good, like, when she first came out. She was a pretty good support character. She had, like, some of the best auras in the game, like, very early in the game, like, when she first dropped. Her auras have definitely fallen off, and she's a pretty underwhelming character. Her damage isn't great. She's got holy damage. I think the main unique thing... So, Rosa suffers from the same problem I feel like Aiko has, where one of the main draws in her kit is something you don't want to use. So Rosa's main thing that she has is re-raise, and it's a long-lasting buff. I think it's like a 10-turn buff. They maybe even upgraded it now, but for a while it was a 10-turn buff, but it could be more. But basically, re-raise just says if you die, you come back alive again, right? The problem with re-raise, it means that you died, which is something you're trying not to do in the game, right? So if you have to use her best quality, it means you're not playing the game well, or you're not doing well in the fight, and you don't want to have to rely on that, right? It also means that all your buffs fall off. You have to reapply your buffs. It can really cripple some characters. You know, a character dies with a BT effect on, like that's a big ouchie. Like you don't like that, right? So it's the whole idea where like if you're getting the best out of the character and using the re-raise, then you're not playing the fight well and you're kind of hurting yourself on your buffs. But on the other hand, if you are playing the fight well and not using a re-raise, well, then you're only getting like half a character. Like you're not utilizing. So like there's stuff they didn't give her because they gave her re-raise. So another like dedicated support character who isn't reliant on the re-raise as part of their passive is going to have a way cooler thing in their kit that makes the character better, right? So Rosa, I think even if you get her, like I don't really know that I would use her for anything unless you are like desperate for holy damage, or if you're just like really struggling with the game and you want to have like re-raise, and this is, we always say this about Ico too, the re-raise, even though as like a veteran player or whatever, like you don't want to depend on it, you don't want to use it. Newer players that like struggle with the game, sure, it can help you get through some fights for sure, right? But definitely don't go in and go out of your way to get Rosa. I don't really think she's worth it right now. She'll come back later with an FR, and then maybe at that time we'll talk about her again. Maybe my thoughts will be different, but right now, Rosa really isn't what you want to go for. Then we have Iroha. Now, I have a pretty positive outlook on Iroha. I do like Iroha. Iroha is a very good support character, very battery-based, helps your party keep your Brave up high, like above 20% all the time. And she's got a fair amount of healing, right? But the big thing with Iroha here is we have to talk about, well, is she worth it for her FR? And she's actually getting a new BT, right? So we have something new to talk about in terms of the BT. So you can see my Iroha, I've got her FR, I've got her fully built, right? So I'm definitely not going to pull, but I might consider tokening the BT because I actually do really, really like her BT effect. And Iroha is a very flexible character that you can throw on the teams. So her BT effect, for one, has really good like high-end auras, just really good party buffs associated with it. But the unique thing that it does is on the last attack that a party member does, your party member gets true HP damage. And it's based on a percentage based on some stacks. So it is a stacking BT buff. So every time Iroha takes a turn, it's going to stack, and it's got up to 5 stacks. When that sucker's at 5 stacks, your party's getting 100% true HP damage, right? So you combo that with busted characters like Tifa that's already getting like true HP damage, because this should be stackable, right? Or like Jack Garland, who's doing all the negative Brave damage. Like, you can stack some insane damage, I think, with this BT buff, and I think it could be a lot of fun. Now, the bad part is it is a stacking buff, so you got to get up to 5 first, and then you have a limited number of turns like that. But if you can play Iroha well, like take some turns, get it up to 5, then have like turn manipulators or speedy characters that can kind of keep Iroha in the back, like off to the side, while you're taking like a busted FR with your FR character. I mean, you time it right? A lot of days we're going into FRs with like a BT phase, right? So picture you're using Jack Garland, and you're going in with Garland's FR. You lay down Iroha's BT effect kind of earlier in the fight, let it get the 5 stacks, get your force charging up while you're doing that, go into a BT phase with Jack Garland with Iroha's BT effect at 5 stacks. You're going to see some insane numbers. Well, let's put it that way. So I do like the BT. We'll put it that way. I like the BT. Iroha's FR has kind of fallen off a bit. The big thing that was good with her FR is just that it's a very easy, flexible to use one. It's just a little bit dated, so it's lower on percentages than what I would like. I would like at a bare minimum to be 60-70%. Hers is only 50. So what it is it's 30% if you're at max HP on your turn, super easy to get. And then 20% if your max Brave is at least 20% of your Brave floor or whatever. So if you have at least 20% of your max Brave, then you get 20%. And with Iroha on the field, she keeps you above 20%. So it's literally a 4 free 50%. So even though it's a little bit lower than I would like, it's probably one of the most free FRs you're ever going to get in terms of just, you're getting that 50% like no matter what. So I think Iroha is a very good like secondary FR. Like, she's probably not going to be the main one you want to use. But let's say I dump down like a really huge Jack Garland FR, and then it's like, oh, I need to get a little bit more damage in. I could throw down an Iroha at the end and kind of finish off with that. I think very good for like Dare to Defy, something like that, right? So that being said, we've talked a little bit about both of these banners. Do I think you guys should pull on these? So as much as I like some of these characters, my overall recommendation is actually going to be to skip these. And the main reason why is Anniversary. Anniversary is coming up very soon, and you all need to be ready for Anniversary. And here's the thing. We've all been talking about this, like, it's going to be like one like crazy character. But remember, they previously have done 2 characters for anniversary, so there actually could be a couple of things coming. So we've got to keep our eye out for that. Now, it was the anniversary that I think people would consider the kind of the failed anniversary when they did Balthier and Vincent. But really, it was 2 characters that were kind of spread out that were both global first, right? Now, my prediction for anniversary is we are going to get the new curse. I feel like they're probably going to be like the new best unit in the game, and it is going to be a global first, and it probably will just be the one character. But I wouldn't be surprised if, like, as a part of the anniversary or the tail end, I don't think they would do 2 new characters. I think that's asking for too much, because new characters are very hard to make. But I could see like a time travel FR or something pop up at the end of the anniversary. I wouldn't be surprised with that. So I would go into anniversary prepared for 1, if not 2 BT pities. So if you're not at that point, you all just need to save right now. If you like what I said about the characters, though, and you think you're going to use these characters, if you have the resources, then definitely jump in and pick them up. I definitely think Iroha is the better pickup of the 2 between her and Onion Knight. And the main reason for that is DPS characters are kind of a dime a dozen, but like really good support characters like Iroha are what you want more of. Because when you go into lockout content, you're going to have a buttload of characters that can deal damage in your box, but you're going to be more limited on like force charging, support characters, battery characters, healing. Like, you always want that on the team. So they don't come out with supports as often, especially supports that have BTFRs, right? So I think Iroha is definitely the better. If you're determined, like, I want to summon on something, Joe, tell me which one. It's going to be this banner, and you guys already know how much I like Cater. Even though Rosa's probably the worst of the batch, I think Cater and Iroha definitely carry this banner. Now on this side, like, Pain, like I said, is a super cool character. Aphmau. But here's the thing, Pain, Aphmau, Onion Knight, they're all kind of like in that niche range, right? Like, I don't really think of them ever as my number 1 choice on the team. I think, honestly, on this banner, I think Pain is the most valuable to me, just because she's a character I would use on a lot of different team comps, right? Whereas, like, turn manipulation in general isn't always desired right now, because in the FR, some FRs, it just depends, right? But some FRs you want to be more defensive and actually let the enemies take turns, so like turn stealing could be bad. But even playing like Onion Knight or Aphmau, it's not like you can just give Jack Garland a million turns in a row like Luna Freya. This is why Luna Freya is so busted, by the way. But it's that they can give Jack Garland a turn when you want to give Jack Garland a turn. The problem is they're using a turn during the force time to do that, where you're getting less damage. What you want to do during force is give your main DPS all the turns, right? So anyways, I've sputtered on enough. Let me know what you guys think of these characters. Let me know if you're going to pull or not. Definitely look for a character guide. I'll do an updated Iroha, and I'll do an updated Onion Knight. So anyways, guys, look forward to those. Thanks for watching. We'll catch y'all on the next one.